single military venture of all time. Over 150,000 men stormed ashore here under fire. 15,000 of them were Canadians. This is their beach. It was codenamed Juno. The operation was codenamed Overlord for the invasion of Western Europe. It was to begin with Neptune, the landings on the French coast. D-Day was set for the 5th of June, 1944. For well over a year, the Western Allies had been bombing occupied Europe around the clock from bases in England. Hitler claimed to have built a fortress. It was a fortress without a roof. Meanwhile, in bases throughout southern England, the great build-up was underway. The supplies, the weapons, the fuel needed to sustain the men who would fight their way across Europe. The commander-in-chief of this enterprise was General Dwight Eisenhower on the left. His commander of all ground forces on the right here was Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, the hero of El Alamein. Their opponent across the Channel, Erwin Rommel, Montgomery's old rival from North Africa and possibly the best-known soldier in the world. Where was this great clash to occur? The most tempting invasion point was the Pas de Calais. It was the shortest route, but it was also the most heavily defended area in France. The choice fell to Normandy. Defenses were lighter and the beaches more sheltered from the treacherous Channel weather. Rommel predicted they'd come to Normandy, but Hitler picked Pas de Calais. He was wrong. 5 beaches were selected. Americans would land at Utah and Omaha and drop airborne troops inland on the west. The British would land on Gold and Sword, the Canadians at Juno. Canadian and British paratroopers would be dropped on the eastern flank. Charles Stacey, the Canadian Army's official historian in the Second World War, says the fighting that was about to unfold on the beaches would become one of the great battles of history.
Well, Normandy is certainly one of the major military events of history, there's no doubt of that. It was a major event of the Second World War, and the Second World War was the greatest war in history.
While the Germans waited and guessed, the invasion was delayed one day by bad weather. D-Day became the 6th of June.
People of Western Europe, a landing was made this morning on the coast of France.
The Allies had complete air superiority over the battlefield. It was a vital advantage. 7,000 ships were involved. An offshore armada shelled coastal positions, as it turned out, with limited effect. And then the run to the beaches. This is one of the few film sequences of the actual landings that has survived. It shows Canada's 3rd Division going ashore under heavy fire. It was a deadly business. None of the Allied units were to reach their objectives that day, and on Omaha Beach, the Americans were nearly driven into the sea. Rommel had predicted if the Allies were to be stopped, it must be on the beaches and within 2 days. Rommel was right. The Allies were ashore to stay. The fight through the deadly narrow roads of Normandy and across Europe to Germany would take almost another year, but the outcome would not now be in doubt.
The Second World War was a war that was very well worth fighting, and a war that we had to win.
And Normandy was a major milestone.
Normandy was a major milestone in the road to the victory over Nazism.
Dan Bjarnason, CBC News.